Should we reintroduce ourselves or
Sure,
just go
yeah.
right into the essay?
And we can reintroduce ourselves. It's kind of been like a month.
Yeah,
I'm Chloe Gray. I'm a junior and I'm an agricultural economics major from Houston.
I'm Jada. I'm a first year architecture student and I'm from Dallas.
I'm Sahar. I'm a sophomore business management major and I'm from Houston.
I'm Olivia. I'm a sophomore accounting major from McAllen.
I'm Hildy. I'm a sophomore ocean engineering major from Houston.
Sorry, I'm Micah. I'm a sophomore journalism major from Houston, and I'm about to sit down, I promise.
Should we look at the essays everyone submitted or the drafts?
I looked I haven't looked at all of them because one wasn't loading, but
Yeah,
I feel like we should all give like our own, like our spiel on like all of them or like give your like summary
I
or
can share my screen with all the essays that were submitted.
oh.
I need permission though. Here. All right. This one was the first one.
Okay, that one's mine. So basically, I kind of saw that, I don't know if y'all talked a lot about it, but I felt like there was a lot of different prompts for like the talks and like talking about like bias, also talking about like multiple viewpoints, and then also trying to integrate like environmental. So I don't know if I did too much of that, but basically I was just talking about the talk and it was about Venezuela and the dictatorship that they're under right now. And it was two different speakers. One of them was like a US working in the US government, and then another was an ex like an immigrant that fled here from Venezuela, and she has like a political position now. But in my essay, I mostly talked about like how like the two were so different in like their roles, but then also like how they like came to the conclusion and how the talk was still helpful, even though they obviously have different viewpoints and probably could have such different bias, that could influence their talk. But honestly, I don't know if I talked too much about that, and I didn't really give the whole spiel on like the actual talk and what it was about. But I felt like I don't know, like our teacher wanted to hear more about like the bias and stuff. So I don't know if y'all read it, if y'all think I should add more about like what the actual talk like had in it, but like also I don't mind if I don't have to change it either. So
I was kind of confused on that, or like I know what you're talking about like there were a lot of like one of my friends, she like talked about it, but then she went to like a academic talk, but then talked about academic freedom, and I was like, wait, she like did both, and I was like, wait, I'm like confused, and then like for mine, I did like it also talked about like Aggie values or something. There were like a lot of things, and I was like, wait, are we supposed to like add all this stuff? So like I mostly just talked about like what was in the presentation and then like how it tied to biases and like all that. But I know what you're talking
Uh,
about. It's like a lot of stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, I'll agree with Chloe in that for me, my presentation didn't have a lot of bias or anything because my talk was about architecture in the medical field. So I don't see how there could be any bias in like improving the medical field. So the I just talked more about the talk itself and like what the speaker was talking about and his research and everything. This one's mine, but I really couldn't link my talk to anything biased or like environmental in a sense. So I just wrote about his talk and how he is redesigning IV stands to limit the risk of patients falling and losing money, as well as hospitals losing on like their inventory and everything. And I think like part of the topic for this was like how they use scientific evidence and everything to prove their point, but my speaker didn't really include that many like statistics because he can't really go into a hospital and be like, let me see you fall, you know? Like, so he couldn't really get those statistics or prove anything scientific. He just told us how he was doing simulations at Texas Tech University by using like these machines and everything. And then that's how he found a way to redesign IV stands to limit the falls. And then I just concluded by relating it back to the Aggie values. So I don't know if my stuff is on topic or anything because I'm looking at y'all's paper and I'm just like, I think I wrote too little.
I feel like everyone's gonna take it in like a different way. Like I didn't really like have mine was about body image and eating disorders, and they were like there's no like I mean I didn't do bias, but I also think that like I just did like multiple viewpoints. I talked about like social media and their like perception on that. So I feel like everyone's gonna kind of take this paper in like a different way because everyone's topic isn't the same. So I don't know.
So I actually did something like completely different. So you know how there was like three options that we could talk about?
Mhm.
I actually didn't have time to go to one of like the presentations and I had to leave like midway throughout one. So I decided to go with talking about academic freedom. So mine doesn't really talk about like a topic, like a presentation, but it literally I just connected academic freedom at Texas A&M to like environmental studies, like studying things like regarding to like climate change. And I talked about how it can be politicized and how it's good to have like a neutral stance throughout like the research and how the university needs to foster like an environment where researchers can have like a neutral kind of environment so they can like foster their research and like just I don't know, things like that. So I don't know if I completely did that wrong, but I'm pretty sure we could like choose one of three options and it was like attend a talk and like talk about like A and B, which was like the bias things. Or if you could like choose something about academic freedom or Aggie values. Like that's what I understood from it. But I'm pretty sure you had an alternative option.
Yeah, there were three options.
Yeah, I
I
can
did the
pull it up
same
right now.
thing
It
where I
was
talked about
attend an
academic
academic
freedom.
talk and write an essay, clarify academic freedom and argue a stance for our university, or design your own topic that is related to regular academic events on campus.
Yeah, so I did the clarify academic freedom and argue
Yeah.
for a stance. But like if y'all have any like advice on my essay, I don't know if it's too long, if it's too repetitive, but
It's this one, right?
yeah, it's that one.
Okay.
I feel like 450 to 650 words is like pretty short. So I feel like the length isn't like that big of a deal. Because I feel like all of them are.
Yeah. Right now, the only thing is like your works cited should be on another page, but I think that might have just been like exporting issues or something.
Oh, I usually on all my essays put them on the same page because I get scared when she says three
Oh,
page max. But yeah, I can fix
it's,
that.
yeah, I think it's like 2 pages, and then the third one is for your works cited.
I have no clue because mine thing is under 650 words. I think it's like around 590 or something like that. and this is just how it fit. But I think it's also because I have like the chart.
Yeah, I think you could just like decrease the font or something. And then there's like a way to wrap text around your image. That's what I did so that I still have that space there. It it's like wrap like you just click on the picture and then it has like the buttons and then it's like the second one where it lets it wrap the text around it. So that might be a way to like limit the space. Yeah. Doing
Do y'all know like what exactly they're like how we're gonna be graded on this? Is it the same as like the other papers? Because I looked on Perceptive for the rubric and there's literally only two categories for this one. It was nothing like the
what
other
are
one.
the categories?
There was a rubric in Canvas that I saw that I was trying to go off of. It was kind of basic, to be honest, but what I got from it was pretty similar to our other ones, whereas we still had to have like two-sided sources and a physical like either picture or graph. Um, I'm trying to find it. I've been in class and meetings all day, so I was not able to upload my essay there. I'm trying to do it now, but it's not letting me. So I might just have to read y'all like kind of what it is, but I'm trying to find the rubric now. If I find it, I'll let y'all know. I'm so sorry.
I have the Perceptive rubric up right now. So the first like category is summary of topic. Does the student clearly state and understand what the topic was and how it was related to environmental change or Aggie values? Be specific, provide clear suggestions for improvement. I don't know how mine would. Okay. Yeah. And then the second part is cultural discourse topics. Did the student include a discussion on how cultural discourse topics, bias, privilege, globalization, power, multiple viewpoints were included or could be connected to the topic? Was it clearly stated? So I think mine is going to have an issue with this one just because there's really no way to include a cultural discourse topic into a talk about improving the medical field. Like, does anyone have any ideas how I could implement cultural discourse? Because all I really talked about was what the talk was about, like how he started and how he ended and proved his points and everything, and then connected to Aggie values. I don't have anything about bias, privilege, globalization, power, multiple viewpoints in there.
I feel like you can incorporate privilege into stuff with healthcare pretty easily.
Privilege just being like, yeah, only
Privilege and
the
like something with like disparities, like socioeconomic disparities, stuff like that. You can incorporate that pretty easily into anything healthcare related, I feel like. There's a lot of studies on it.
ah, thank you.
I also feel like with viewpoints, you can kind of do like, I'm not really sure like what you're talking about in the medical, like I know you're talking about architecture, but like the difference between like the doctors themselves or like the people within the hospital trying to work like for the benefit of the patients versus like the people that own the hospital that are just working like for the money and the profit. I feel like that's an example of how like bias like kind of would affect like their goals and they wouldn't align, and also like viewpoints and then power as well, like the power dynamic, the difference between like the CEO of the hospital versus the doctor working there or the architecture person working there trying to like build something for the patients to benefit. Like I feel like those different goals kind of change their viewpoint and their bias from that.
Thank you. Who else have we not talked about, like in terms of essays and everything?
I just submitted mine because I low key also forgot.
That's fine. I can do it.
Also, I'm under the stairs at church right now. So if there's a really loud background noise, that's why. I thought it was
You're
going to be
good.
quiet and then I committed and it was not quiet at all.
Okay. Academic freedom. Do you want to talk about, like, give a brief overview of your essay real quick?
Yeah, mine was really just the same thing doing academic freedom because it wasn't because I couldn't make a talk, it was because I didn't want to, and it was an option that I didn't have to. And then it's really just like how academic freedom applies to kind of A&M and our values. And then I didn't really know how to incorporate a figure, so that's just a figure of academic freedom in the world because there's not really anything specific to Texas A&M, and that was the best I could find. So that's pretty much what it is.
So I feel like this confused me. Like, were we supposed to just talk about academic freedom or connect academic freedom into environmental issues? Because that's what I ended up doing.
I
So
have no idea.
I feel like
It confused, like, it was not very clear
there
to
was
me.
there was a lot.
But
I feel like
also,
it was like you just talk about academic freedom and how it like corresponds to A&M. Because I didn't talk about like environmental things at all.
I didn't either. But,
yeah,
like,
because there was
it
something
could
on
still fit into
Canvas.
that.
There was something on Canvas. I remember seeing it, like I think on an announcement or something. I'm gonna look for it right now. And she's just like, find a way to incorporate environmental stuff into it. And I'm like, oh, okay. That means I need to basically talk about environmental
Would it
I
be
don't
for
think
like
it matters
the,
either way.
would it be for that prompt specifically or
in general for
in
every
general?
single one.
I think
I
just going based off the perceptive review, like, we know they don't read all of our essays. So us reading it on perceptive, I don't think anyone's gonna
Yeah, I think,
affect it either way if it
Oh,
I
talks about
think
it or not.
the thing to follow would be the perceptive because that's the rubric that is used like for all the different topics
Yeah.
and prompts. So I feel like
yeah.
that's the more general one. So like if you have environmental or it says environmental change or Aggie values, I feel like if you incorporate one of those, then the grader,
Totally fine.
whether it be one of us, would be like, okay, that's chill.
okay, is it fine that I incorporated both?
I think so.
Okay, because I also found the exact thing that I like based it off of. It was like in the prompt side notes, and it says if you're unable to attend a seminar talk directly related to environmental change, you should be able to answer either at A or B. I strongly encourage you to make connections to environmental change despite the topic.
When
Hmm.
I read that, it
Mm.
sounded like if you're going to a talk that doesn't relate to it, relate the talk to that. But if you're choosing a different prompt, it doesn't have to relate to that, I think.
Should I
I don't
like
think it really
write
matters either
it?
way.
Like, I
I
really don't
think
want
it's fine. I
to. Okay.
honestly think it's okay.
I mean, if
This was
y'all
such a
else
broad.
like,
Go
yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
so broad. I feel like you could really tie in, like if you just tie in enough and it's relevant, I think you're gonna be okay just because there were so many different like things for
Mm.
different like
And I think
points
at
that
the
she had
same
made.
time, like, since it's mostly like student graded, half the students don't really read your essays anyway. Like, I think one of my comments today was like, you have great organization. You have an intro, body paragraphs, and a conclusion.
That's what someone did to me too, and I was like,
Thank
wow.
you.
I was like, this is some great feedback. That's
I know, and it's like two out of the three are always like that for me. So it's like, is there really a reason for me to stress so much over an essay that people aren't really reading?
I also think it's within your group, is it not? The perceptive stuff? Like
The
your group
peers,
that
I don't think so. It's
I
like
think it's
anyone.
completely random. I don't
I
know
think
why. I've
so.
always thought that it's just your group that does it.
I think it's completely random. I just like
Yeah,
I would like to believe I've never come in contact with some of the people that have graded my essays.
Hmm.
me too. Mm. Does anyone else want like us
I
all
can
to look over their essays or like have any questions about it? I think we still have a few minutes left on this discussion, so we can answer questions for each other.
I can talk about mine. I'm not able to get it uploaded right now,
Okay.
but I have it downloaded. I didn't go to a lecture either, but I just did like social media and mental health, and I tried to tie it into something environmental because that's kind of what it said, but it didn't really make much sense. It kind of fell back and it kind of just fell more into like politics, and like how social media shows a lot and talks about a lot and how it can affect people negatively and positively, especially in academics, and how a lot of times in schools or in classrooms, like where professors are teaching, like sometimes social media can be positive because it's like you can talk about more, I guess, sensitive things, but it it was so hard to tie everything that I'm talking like that it had asked for into this, especially because I didn't go to a lecture. But basically, I just did stuff like conversations about social media and how mental health are connected to like politics and like what is being shown over social media or through social media. Um, and then I just really hope that that can be tied into environmental because I do think like us being at A&M, we're shown different things than like students at UT are shown, just geographically where you're at. And then also like people who don't have access to social media, what they receive is a lot less than we do. And so I just kind of went into like all the different logistics of who has access to what social media, if that makes sense, and kind of how having more benefits you some ways and counteracts. Anyway, I just tried to go to her points, but I didn't go to a talk, so I kind of just went about social media, if that makes sense.
Mm. I think if you want to tie it back to like environment or something, you can say how social media can change your bias on like the environment. Like, oh, maybe this source of media is saying like nature is healing, right?
Yeah.
And then you see another source and it's like, yeah, no, our forest is completely gone. So like
Mhm.
you can kind of tie that like social media into like perspectives as well as environment by going that route. Um, yeah, I don't know.
No,
It's just
thank you. Yeah,
you're
that sounds,
welcome.
I get what you're saying. It's just like a, like everyone has kind of said, it's just a weird prompt, but I'm gonna just tie it back to the perceptive rubric and hope for the best.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any concerns with their essays?
I don't think I do. I feel like body image is kind of easy to talk about and like multiple viewpoints because I just talked about like social media and like how it's like perceived on um like Instagram and like all that. But I don't know. I think that's like pretty easy to talk about, but I don't have any um like concerns about it.
I feel like mine, I'm just low key worried that I'm talking too much about the bias and like reading so much into like the actual speakers and like how they got their point across, and I don't actually like say like the point of the talk or like what they actually talked about. So I'm thinking like maybe I should like combine because my first body paragraph is about the objectivity, like not letting their opinions like kind of get in the way of like their information and how they present their information. And then my second is about how their different perspectives led to like a good conversation about the topic. And I feel like I can kind of merge those together and like dedicate a paragraph to just like what the talk was about, but also I feel like I describe it like a little in the intro. So like I don't know if like a peer would like grade and be like, oh well she didn't even say what the talk was about. So I don't know. Y'all don't have to read like the whole thing, but do y'all think like if you were just like reading and they just kind of skip to like what they t how they talked about it versus what they talked about, you'd be like, girl, like you need to
I
give us some context.
I think there's like one thing that was part of the prompt is like you have to relate it back to core Aggie values. Did you do that in your essay?
No. I related it
Mm,
back to the environment and I thought it was like environment or Aggie values. So
I can
I
pull up
didn't read
the
anything about Aggie values until the perceptive thing. So I don't know what I was going
yeah,
off of, but
because I think it was like uh yeah, attend one of these activities and contemplate how the speaker uses evidence or proof or not of their ideas to argue or arguments. We can think about the consequences of it in relationship to Aggie values and community events. So I mm, I'm lost. Um, I think it could be like it could relate back to leadership or something since they're speaking up about what they believe in or something. Maybe that could be a route that you take. It, because I don't think it has to be much that you have to write about, like relating back to Aggie values, because I barely wrote a paragraph about it. So I think just a few sentences relating it back to Aggie values would be nice. Um, and yeah, maybe like try combining the two big body paragraphs and then focus more on like how it relates, like how they get their point across, like their evidence and whatnot to prove their stance.
I feel like at the same time, like, yeah, you can like make little tweaks, but they're students grading the
Yeah.
essays. Like, the way I like to think about it is like, I think everyone's done. Like, everyone's like, wants to wrap this class up, and it's just that we're all ready to like for the summer. So I don't think anyone at this point is like nitpicking every teeny tiny little thing. So you can
Yeah.
like add your one or two sentences, but like don't worry too much, I feel like, especially if you did your part.
Mm. What's the time at for the meeting right now?
It doesn't tell me, but we started this at like 8:02. Like 2. So,
All right.
um, we're probably she said like about 30 minutes, so I'm sure we're at like 28 minutes or something. But
Okay. Mm. So any like final thoughts on the essays or anything? Just to wrap things up. Do y'all think that your essay is like good to submit finally, or are you guys just gonna tweak it a bit?
I feel like I'm kind of like conflicted if I should like rewrite it just to academic freedom or just keep it like this because I just combined both topics.
I'm with you on that one. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm writing about in terms of like the academic talk, so should I just switch to academic freedom and just make a whole new essay?
At the same time, I don't really have time. I don't think any of us have time for that.
I
So
feel like
Yeah,
rewriting a whole essay is like so much.
it is. It took
Such
me
a
so long just to write what I have right now, and I like barely made the 450 minimum. just doing bare minimum for this class right now. Mm.
Do y'all think I should rewrite it, or do you think it'll be fine if you were like to see it, would you give it like for that one specific topic, it's like, oh, did they touch on Aggie values or like the environmental? Would you like mark it as good or not? Do you think?
I probably would, because most of the time what I do is like I'll only mark it extremely bad if like it is clearly really bad. But if it looks pretty scholarly, I'll just be like, I'll skim through it and be like, oh yeah, they have some numbers thrown in there. That's pretty good enough for scientific evidence. And like they have a graph and all that. So I think it looks good.
I also feel like not every topic is like you talked about like environmental stuff, and I feel like not every topic's gonna like be like the same, and like some people might talk about Aggie values and it just like connects with their paper, and like just some people just don't, and like stretching a topic to where it just doesn't make sense. I feel like everyone will get that, and I feel like everyone's just gonna like be like pretty like lenient on what people have already done, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. I wouldn't stress about it too hard.
I feel like talking about it and like seeing what other people have done like makes you stress more about it, you know? Because everyone did
Definitely.
their own thing. So,
Yeah.
but
I think we're about good to wrap up the conversation.
yeah.
It's 8:33 now.
And I'll turn this in like right after this. So
Yeah. And then I think you also need to post like the confirmation screenshot to the discussion.
that we met.
It's like once you submit the Google form, it'll be like, thanks for the submission. You just take a screenshot of that and upload it to the discussion group as well.
Okay. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
do that.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect.
Guys.
Bye.